The title of this story is, I got left off the family cruise, but they still expected me to stay behind and babysit while they had the time of their lives, so I let karma handle the rest. Hey everyone, before we get into today's story, I want to ask for a quick favor. We've noticed the channel has been losing a little momentum lately, and subscribing is one of the best ways you can help support us. It only takes a second, it doesn't cost a thing, and it really helps us keep putting out content you enjoy. Your support honestly means a lot to us, and I'd love to keep growing this channel together. Thanks a lot. Alright, let's get into the story. Hey Reddit, how's it going? I'm usually the kind of person who reads other people's posts and thinks, how does a family even act like that? But apparently, my own family decided it was my turn to end up with a story worth posting online. This whole thing has been weighing on me hard for the last week, and I really need some outside perspective. I'm 33 years old, single, no kids, and somehow I've apparently been assigned the role of permanent family doormat. So here's what happened. I've got an aunt named Diane who's retiring after spending 38 years teaching. She's pretty much the matriarch of our family, and she's the person who keeps everyone connected. She's the one who plans every holiday dinner, remembers every birthday, and even puts together little care packages for the younger cousins when they head off to college. She's basically the glue holding the whole family together. So naturally, her retirement is a huge deal, and I was genuinely excited to celebrate it with her. Or at least I was, right up until I found out I wasn't actually included in the celebration at all. This all started last week when I went over to my parents' house for dinner. It felt like a normal evening. My mom was doing her usual thing, stressing over the meal, my dad was halfway paying attention to the TV, and my sister was glued to her phone. We were all just talking about random stuff when I casually asked if anyone had any ideas for a retirement gift for Aunt Diane. That's when my sister, without even lifting her eyes from her screen, said, "Oh, we're doing a group gift for her on the cruise." I just froze for a second. What cruise? I honestly thought I'd heard her wrong. I mean, if there was some big family trip in the works, obviously I would have known about it, right? I gave this awkward little laugh and asked what exactly she meant. She finally looked up, and she seemed confused that I was confused. "You know, the cruise," she said. "We've been planning it for months." Then she added, "Pretty much all the adults in the family were supposed to go. Don't tell me you forgot." And she said it like I was the one who somehow missed this giant piece of family news. I turned to my mom, hoping she'd clear it up, and she gave me this uncomfortable little smile, like she hated being the one stuck explaining it. She told me it was a cruise to celebrate Aunt Diane's retirement, and after that they were spending a few extra days in Hawaii. The second she said that, I honestly felt like I was in some kind of bizarre prank. Everybody else knew about this big, carefully planned trip, and I had somehow been left completely out of it. So I asked the obvious question, why hadn't anyone told me? My mom gave this nervous little laugh and said, "Well, we thought you'd be more helpful staying behind." I just stared at her. Staying behind? Helpful how? That's when my sister jumped in like this was the most obvious thing in the world. "The kids," she said. "You're so good with them, and it just made more sense for you to stay here and babysit while we're gone." Babysit. That was their plan for me. And to really put this into perspective, between my sister, one cousin, and another cousin, there are 4 kids under the age of 4. There's a 3-year-old, a 2-year-old, and a set of twins who are just a little over a year old. And somehow, without even talking to me first, they had all decided I'd be totally fine staying behind and taking care of all 4 of them. I just looked at them, completely stunned. "Wait, so let me get this straight," I said. "You planned an entire trip, didn't invite me, and just assumed I'd be okay staying back to babysit?" My sister shrugged and said, "Well, yeah." Then she hit me with, "You're always so reliable, and it's not like you have kids or anything holding you back." It just made sense. Made sense to who? I looked over at my mom, still hoping she had some explanation that wouldn't make me feel like I was nothing more than an afterthought. But all she gave me was a weak smile before saying, "We didn't mean to leave you out, honey. We just thought you'd understand. You've always been the responsible one." Responsible. That word hit me like a slap. Yeah, I've always been the one who helps out when people need something. I've watched the kids during emergencies, done school pickups, and even covered for my sister when work got in the way. But this was way beyond that. They didn't even ask me. They made the choice for me. Then my mom tried to smooth things over by saying they'd bring me back a souvenir, like some cheap little gift was supposed to make up for being left out of a major family vacation. Meanwhile, my sister acted like I was making a big deal out of nothing. She casually said, "It's not like you'd even enjoy the cruise anyway." Then she followed it up with, "You don't really like big crowds, right?" Excuse me? Now they were deciding for me what I would and wouldn't enjoy. I just sat there trying to process everything. This wasn't some accidental oversight. This was intentional. They had apparently been planning the whole thing for months in a private Facebook group that I wasn't even in. And the worst part is, they all know I don't use Facebook. Every single one of them knows that. They could have texted me, called me, or just mentioned it during any of the dozens of family get-togethers we've had. But they didn't. When I told them how hurtful it was to be excluded like that, my mom immediately tried to brush it aside. She said, "We didn't mean to upset you. It was just practical." Practical for them, maybe. Not for me. I ended up leaving not long after that because I was too angry to sit there and keep talking. But over the next few days, that anger started turning into something even heavier. Because deep down, I realized this wasn't only about the trip. It was about what this whole thing said about the way my family sees me. Not as a person with my own life, my own plans, and my own feelings. Just as the reliable one, the helpful one, the person they can always count on to give things up whenever it benefits them. I kept replaying that dinner in my head over and over. I thought about all the times I dropped everything to help my sister when she was overwhelmed with her toddler. I thought about the times I changed my schedule around to help my cousin when her twins got sick. I've always shown up for them. And they couldn't even do me the basic courtesy of asking whether I was okay with any of this. The more I thought about it, the more I started realizing this wasn't some isolated thing. This is how they've always treated me. I've spent so much time trying to be helpful and dependable for my family that I never really stopped to see how often they were taking advantage of me. But this time, I'm done. I still don't fully know how I'm going to deal with all of this going forward, but I do know one thing for sure. I'm not staying behind to babysit. Not this time. Let me know what you guys think. Have any of you ever been put in a situation like this before? I'll post an update once things start playing out. Update 1. Hey everyone. I'm going to keep posting updates because this whole thing looks like it's headed in a pretty bad direction. So after that train wreck of a family dinner, I spent the next few days just sitting in my anger. I mean, seriously, how are you even supposed to process something like that? Your whole family plans this huge, once-in-a-lifetime vacation, leaves you out of it completely, and then expects you to smile, stay home, and babysit for free? It felt calculated. It felt intentional. Like they didn't even see me as family anymore. Just the help. I tried to calm myself down and figure out a way to handle it without completely blowing up, but there was no way I was just going to let this go. So a couple of days later, I texted my sister and told her I wanted to come on the cruise too. In my head, I was thinking maybe they left me out because they assumed I wouldn't be able to go or wouldn't be interested. I figured I could still fix things by putting myself back into the plans. I even pointed out that I already had time off approved from work, so making it happen wouldn't be a problem for me. Her response? "Sorry, there's no space left." I just stared at my phone. No space. I asked her what she meant, and she explained that they had booked everything months ago as a group and that the cruise was completely sold out now. She went on about how it was already hard enough organizing everything for the people who RSVP'd, and there was no way they could just change things at this point. I told her that was fine. I didn't need to be part of the group booking. I could get my own ticket. I said I'd handle my own room, my own travel. Hell, if it came down to it, I'd even fly out separately to Hawaii and just meet them there. I was actually trying to make it work, even though I was still pretty hurt about being left out in the first place. And then she hit me with it again. "Well, if you do decide to come, you'll need to figure out childcare first. We're all expecting you to stay back with the kids." There it was. That assumption again. So I reminded her, very calmly, I might add, that nobody had ever actually asked me to babysit in the first place. I told her it wasn't fair to leave me out of the trip and then turn around and dump all the childcare on me like that was my only role in the family. I explained that I wanted to celebrate Aunt Diane too, and it wasn't right for them to just exclude me from something this important. Her response? A weak apology that didn't sound real at all. She said it was just an oversight, and that they didn't mean to hurt me. Then she followed it up with, "But it's not like we can change anything now. Everything's already booked." That's when I stopped trying to be nice. I told her straight up that I wasn't babysitting, and if they needed someone to watch the kids, they'd have to figure it out themselves. She immediately got defensive, saying things like, "We all have kids, and you're the only one who doesn't." like that somehow made this okay. I told her that wasn't my problem and definitely not my responsibility. I said, "You had months to tell me about this trip. Instead of including me, you just decided to use me. That's not fair, and I'm not going along with it." After that, she went silent. For a second, I thought maybe she finally realized how messed up this whole thing was. Nope. She just handed things off to my mom. The very next day, my mom called me, and I could hear the guilt trip coming before she even got into it. She opened with, "I just don't want there to be any bad blood in the family." I told her this wasn't about bad blood, it was about respect. I said it wasn't okay to leave me out of something this big and then expect me to pick up the slack so everyone else could go enjoy themselves. Her response? "Families help each other." That's when I almost lost it. I said, "Exactly. Families help each other." So where was that for me? Where was the consideration for how I'd feel? You didn't even ask what I wanted. You just assumed I'd be fine being left out and used. She tried to soften it by saying, "We didn't mean to make you feel excluded. We just thought you'd be more comfortable staying back." Comfortable? Yeah, because watching 4 kids under the age of 4 while everyone else is off on a cruise sounds incredibly relaxing. I told her I wasn't doing it. And I meant it. She sounded disappointed, like somehow I was the one letting her down. Then she tried the "we're all counting on you" line. But I didn't budge. After I hung up, I felt a weird mix of emotions. On one hand, I was proud of myself for finally standing my ground. But at the same time, I felt this heavy sense of betrayal. These are the people who are supposed to care about me, and they couldn't even treat me like an equal. And just when I thought it couldn't get any better, my cousin texted me later that day trying to play peacekeeper. She said she understood why I was upset, but I should try to look at the bigger picture and think about how difficult it is for parents to manage everything. I didn't even reply. I was too exhausted to argue anymore. But here's the thing. I still had that time off from work. And there was no way I was going to spend it sitting at home babysitting while my family was out there living their best lives. If they thought I was just going to roll over and accept this, they were seriously mistaken. So I started making my own plans. Plans that had nothing to do with babysitting or taking care of anyone else. If my family wanted to act like I didn't matter, fine. I'd show them exactly what that looks like. What do you guys think? Should I just go do my own thing? Or is this the kind of situation where they need a wake-up call? Let me know, because honestly, I'm still trying to figure out if I handled this the right way. Stay tuned for another update. Update 2. Hey again. After everything that happened with my family, I made a decision. I wasn't going to let them ruin my time off. They wanted to pretend I didn't exist? Fine. I could play that game too. If they were all off enjoying some luxury cruise, I wasn't about to sit at home miserable. So I started planning my own getaway. At first, I'll admit, it was partly out of spite. I wanted to prove something to myself. But the more I thought about it, the more I realized I actually needed this. I couldn't even remember the last time I took a trip that was just for me. Every vacation I'd had recently was either work-related, some kind of family obligation, or me tagging along to help someone else. This time was going to be different. I decided to head out to the mountains. A coworker had told me about this small cabin rental, quiet, tucked away, with amazing hiking trails and even a hot tub overlooking a valley. Honestly, it sounded perfect. So I booked it for a full week and didn't tell a single person. The day before my family was set to leave for their cruise, I packed up my car, put my phone on silent, and headed out. No goodbyes. No updates. Nothing. If they couldn't be bothered to include me in their plans, I didn't know them any details about mine. The drive up there was exactly what I needed. Rolling hills, winding roads, and that kind of peaceful silence you don't realize you've been missing until you finally have it. When I got to the cabin, it was even better than I imagined. Small, cozy, with a stone fireplace, huge windows, and a deck that looked out over the forest. I spent the entire first day just relaxing. For the first time in what felt like forever, I wasn't thinking about anyone else. No kids. No responsibilities. No drama. Just me. Of course, that peace didn't last long. The morning my family was supposed to leave for the cruise, my phone started blowing up. Even with notifications turned off, I could see all the missed calls and messages piling up when I checked it later. First message, my mom. When can we drop the kids off? Everyone's getting ready to leave. Then my sister. We're on our way to your place with the car seats. Be home, okay? Then my cousin. Hey, are you ignoring us? We're kind of in a hurry. I didn't respond to any of them. As more messages came in, the tone started shifting. My sister texted, "This isn't funny. We're all waiting on you to step up." My mom left me a voicemail full of guilt, saying things like, "I don't understand why you're doing this. We're family. We depend on each other." And then my cousin sent this long, angry message going on about how irresponsible I was being and how selfish it was to leave them scrambling at the last minute. She actually had the nerve to say that I was ruining Aunt Diane's big day by making things difficult for everyone. That's when I really lost it inside. Ruining her day? The only reason I wasn't there celebrating with her in the first place was because they didn't think I mattered enough to invite. But somehow I was the villain in all of this. Yeah, right. After that, I just shut my phone off completely. I wasn't about to let them guilt trip me into feeling bad for finally standing up for myself. And honestly, the rest of that week turned out to be exactly what I needed. I spent my days hiking trails with incredible views, soaking in the hot tub under the night sky, and just sitting with my thoughts, writing things down and really processing everything. One night, sitting by the fireplace, it really hit me just how long I'd been letting my family walk all over me. I've always been the yes guy, the one who drops everything the second someone needs help. And yeah, I love my family, but somewhere along the way, I'd been giving up my own happiness just to make their lives easier. That realization stuck with me, and I decided right then, it wasn't happening anymore. By the time I packed up and drove back home at the end of the week, I honestly felt like a completely different person. The anger was gone. I was just done. Done being the backup option. Done being the invisible helper. Done being treated like I didn't matter. What I didn't realize, though, was that the real fallout was waiting for me back home. When I pulled into my driveway, I already knew things were about to get messy. My family hadn't heard from me in over a week, and judging by the pile of missed calls and messages, they were ready to unload on me. I barely got through the door before my phone started ringing. My mom. I thought about ignoring it and letting it go to voicemail, but honestly, I figured I might as well deal with it. The second I answered, she went off. "Where were you? Do you have any idea what you've done?" Her voice had that mix of anger and disappointment she always uses, the kind that's designed to make you feel like the worst person alive. I kept my tone calm and said, "I was on a trip." Then I added, "Just like all of you." Yeah, she didn't like that. She immediately started going on about how my sister, my cousin, and even my aunt had to scramble at the last minute because I wasn't there for the family. Apparently, when I didn't show up, everything fell apart. My sister had to leave her 2-year-old with a friend, and my cousin ended up canceling her entire cruise just to stay home with her twins. And now, according to my mom, they were all furious with me. "They're saying you ruined the trip," she told me. Yeah, no kidding. I took a deep breath and asked her, "Why is that my fault? Why am I responsible for fixing a situation I didn't create?" She tried to interrupt me, but I kept going. "You didn't invite me, Mom. You didn't even bother telling me about the trip until I found out by accident. And instead of apologizing, you all just assumed I'd stay behind and babysit." I paused, then added, "Do you have any idea how that felt?" She went quiet for a second before saying, "We thought you'd understand. You've always been the reliable one." There it was again. Reliable. I said, "Being reliable doesn't mean I'm your backup plan. I'm supposed to be part of this family too, or at least I thought I was." Then I continued, "But you made it pretty clear that my role is just to take care of everyone else while you all go off and enjoy yourselves. That's not okay, and I'm not doing it anymore." She didn't take that well. She immediately switched to talking about how families are supposed to make sacrifices for each other and how I was being selfish for refusing to help. So I told her, families are also supposed to respect each other. And nobody showed me any respect when you planned this entire trip without me. After that, she got defensive and said she didn't want to argue anymore. Typical. The moment she realized I wasn't going to back down, she ended the call, but not before throwing in, "I hope you're happy with yourself." But it didn't stop there. Later that evening, my sister sent me this long, passive-aggressive message accusing me of abandoning her. She said I left the family hanging when they needed me most. She went on about how hard it was to find someone to watch her daughter at the last minute, and how the friend she found wasn't even good with kids. Then my cousin chimed in too, sending a rant about how I ruined the whole trip for her because she couldn't find childcare for the twins. And then she added that my aunt was disappointed in me for not being there to celebrate her retirement. That part hit me. I really do love my aunt, and yeah, it hurt knowing I wasn't there for her. But I had to remind myself, This wasn't on me. I was never even given the chance to be part of it. I didn't respond to either of them. Instead, I sat down and typed out one message to the entire family group chat. Yeah, the same family planning thread they somehow managed to keep me out of while organizing the trip. I wrote, "Hey everyone, I've been hearing a lot of blame being thrown my way about what happened with the trip, so let me clear a few things up. First, I was never invited on the cruise. Nobody told me about it. I found out by accident. That alone was hurtful. Second, I was expected to babysit without anyone even asking me. I'm not responsible for fixing problems that came from your assumptions. If you needed my help, you should have asked. I'm part of this family, not your free babysitter. And finally, I need to set some boundaries. From now on, if anyone needs something from me, you need to ask directly. And if I say no, that's the end of it. I won't be guilt or pressured into doing things I don't agree to. I love you all, but I also deserve to be treated with respect." I hit send and put my phone down. Honestly, I didn't even care what kind of reaction it caused. For once, I wasn't twisting myself into knots trying to make everyone else happy. I thought that message would calm things down and make my boundaries clear. Instead, it was like I'd just dropped a grenade into that group chat. The fallout started almost immediately. By the next day, my phone was blowing up again. Calls, texts, voicemails, all loaded with guilt. And it wasn't just anger. I could handle anger. This was something else. This was entitlement on a level I hadn't even realized they were capable of. The first call I actually answered was from my cousin, the one with the twins. She didn't even try to be polite. "I just don't understand how you could do this to us," she snapped right away. I let out a slow breath and said, "Do what exactly?" Even though I already knew what she meant. "You left us scrambling," she fired back. "We were counting on you to watch the kids, and when you didn't, everything fell apart. Do you have any idea how much money we lost?" I kept my voice calm and said, "That's unfortunate, but it's not my responsibility. If childcare was that important, you should have arranged it ahead of time." She gasped like I'd just personally insulted her. "You're being completely unreasonable," she said. "This isn't how family is supposed to treat each other. Families help each other," she said. "And helping starts with actually asking." I replied, keeping my voice calm but firm. "Nobody talked to me about this. Nobody even mentioned the trip. You all just assumed I'd be fine with it, and that's not fair." She clearly didn't like that. "It was an accident that no one told you," she shot back, sounding irritated. "We just figured you'd be okay watching the kids. You've done it before." "And I've helped before when I was asked and agreed to it," I said. "That's the difference. This time, nobody asked. You don't get to make plans for me and expect me to just go along with it." Then she said something that honestly left me speechless for a second. "You know, we could have called the police for child abandonment. You were supposed to be home with them." I had to pause just to process that. "What?" I asked, completely thrown off. "You left us in a bind," she continued. "We were counting on you. Just disappearing like that is neglectful." I couldn't help it. I actually laughed. "You can't be serious," I said. "You don't get to report me for not doing something I never agreed to. That's insane." I added, "You made an assumption, and now you're trying to punish me because it didn't work out. That's not how this works." She went quiet for a second, so I kept going. "My house isn't even set up for kids," I said. "And honestly, I'm not someone who enjoys being around them all the time. I'm not equipped for that, and it's not something I want to do." That set her off. "Wow," she snapped. "So now you're just admitting you don't care about your family? Is that it? You think you're too good to help?" "No," I said, even though I could feel myself getting heated. "I think I'm allowed to have my own life and make my own plans. Just because I've helped before doesn't mean I'm obligated to drop everything whenever you decide I should." She hung up on me after that. But of course, that wasn't the end of it. My sister jumped in next, sending me a whole string of angry messages accusing me of ruining the family dynamic and somehow making Aunt Diane's retirement all about me. She went on and on about how selfish I was being and how I'd let everyone down. I didn't even bother responding. Then my mom called again. Unlike my cousin, she wasn't yelling. She sounded disappointed. And honestly, that hit worse. "Honey," she said, "we're all really hurt by what's happened. This isn't like you. I raised you better than this." "Mom," I cut in, "I'm not doing this. If you're calling to guilt me, don't." "I'm not trying to guilt you," she said, though it definitely sounded like she was. "I'm just saying your sister and your cousin are really upset. They were counting on you. And they should have asked me. I replied. They didn't. They assumed. That's not my responsibility. She let out this long, heavy sigh. This isn't how families are supposed to work, she said. We're supposed to help each other. Helping requires respect, I said firmly. No one respected me enough to include me in the trip. No one respected me enough to even ask if I could help. You all made your plans and expected me to just fall in line. That's not helping, that's being used. She didn't really have an answer for that. So instead, she changed the subject. Aunt Diane is really upset that all this drama has overshadowed her celebration, she said. Do you even care how this is affecting her? That's when my patience snapped. If you cared so much about her celebration, I said, maybe you shouldn't have excluded someone who actually wanted to be there for her. Then I added, this isn't my fault, Mom. Stop trying to make me responsible for fixing your mistakes. After that, she didn't say much. Just another sigh, followed by, I hope you're happy with yourself, before she hung up. The only bright spot in all of this was Aunt Diane. She called me later that evening. I just wanted to check on you, she said gently. I heard about everything, and I'm really sorry. For what? I asked, honestly surprised. For how the family treated you, she said. I had no idea you weren't included in the trip. If I'd known, I would have made sure you were invited. I hate that it turned into this mess. That meant more to me than I can even explain. I thanked her, and for the first time in days, I actually felt a little bit lighter. As for everyone else, I just sat there staring at my phone, wondering if I should turn it off and walk away from all of it completely. Part of me wanted to lay everything out one last time, say exactly how I felt so there'd be no confusion. But another part of me was just tired. Tired of the arguments. Tired of the guilt. Tired of feeling like nothing I said would ever actually matter. Maybe the best thing I could do was stop trying altogether and let them figure things out without me. I don't know. What would you do? Let me know, and I'll keep you updated. Final update. Hey everyone. First off, I really appreciate all the support. I wanted to come back with a final update and let you know where things ended up. After everything that happened over those few days, it became painfully obvious that my family wasn't going to change. It didn't matter how much I explained things or tried to set boundaries. They still saw me the same way. As the reliable one. The one they could lean on. The one whose feelings didn't really matter. I thought maybe things would settle down after my message in the group chat and after talking to Aunt Diane. But nope. My sister kept posting vague stuff on Facebook about toxic family members, and her friends were all jumping in with comments like, some people don't understand loyalty. My cousin was still sending passive-aggressive messages, though I stopped reading them after a while. Even my mom, who seemed like she might have understood where I was coming from, went right back to guilt-tripping me every chance she got. It was exhausting. I found myself lying awake at night, replaying everything in my head. The arguments, the accusations, all the ways they tried to make me feel small. And I kept asking myself one question. Is this worth it? Can I keep living like this? And the answer was no. For years, I'd bent over backward trying to be the good son, the supportive brother, the dependable cousin. And what did it get me? Being excluded, being disrespected, being taken for granted. That's when it finally clicked. I couldn't keep giving everything to people who only saw me as something convenient. So I made a decision. I was done. I decided to call my mom. That was the hardest part, because despite everything, I still love her. But love isn't enough to justify being treated like that. She answered right away. Oh, honey, she said, sounding relieved. I'm so glad you called. Let's just put all of this behind us, okay? I don't want to fight anymore. This isn't a fight, I told her, keeping my voice steady. This is me telling you I need space. A lot of space. What does that even mean? She asked. It means I can't keep doing this, I said. I love you, but I can't be part of a family that doesn't respect me. Every time I stand up for myself, I get guilt-tripped, blamed, and torn down. I deserve better than that. Her voice broke. So what? You're just going to walk away? From me? From your sister? From everyone? If that's what it takes to protect my peace, then yes, I said. You can't mean that, she said, sounding desperate. Families fight. That's what we do. But we work through it. You don't just cut people off. I've been trying to work through it for years, I said. And all it's done is hurt me. She cried. She begged. But I didn't back down. Eventually, she realized I wasn't going to change my mind, and she hung up. As for my sister and my cousin, I blocked them. Didn't answer another call. Didn't respond to another message. I half expected more backlash from other relatives, but surprisingly, things went quiet. Maybe they finally understood, or maybe they just ran out of ways to push me. The first few days were strange, a mix of relief and sadness. Cutting ties with your family isn't easy. These are people I grew up with, shared holidays with, leaned on at different points in my life. But at the same time, I started realizing something. Most of those memories were one-sided. I had given so much of myself to them, and they rarely gave anything back.